Hello and welcome to the Car Corolla channel. So should you buy a Toyota Corolla in the 2009 to 2013 generation? In this video we're going to be discussing some of their common problems and things you need to know about them, to look for them when you're going to buy one or even if you own one. But before we get started, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some of my other videos if you are a returning subscriber. Well, thank you so much for watching another one of my videos, and without further ado, let's get right into it. The 2ZR FE and the 2AZ FE 2.4 and the 2ZR. This Corolla had two engine options, the 2ZR FE and the 2AZ FE 2.4 liter. Let's start with the 1.8 being the most common. The first problem that these had, and especially in the early years, this is more 2009, 2010, they had a problem with the variable valve timing where after you let the car sit for a long time, you start it, you hear a loud rattle, something like this. That is an issue with the intake variable valve timing, or VVTI, gear. This was a TSB, it was a known problem for these. So when you go test drive one or you're looking to buy one, make sure the car sat overnight, you start it and listen for any abnormal noise. Unlike another engine that is called the 2ARFE, the 2.5 liter like found in the Camry, that engine did make a little bit of noise, and that was normal. This engine should be 100% quiet when you start it. If you hear any rattling noises for a few seconds on a cold start, that is no good. This can get into a little bit of an expensive repair on these, so be careful with that. And then there were
I honestly would not discourage anyone from not buying any vehicle that has that issue. In other words, I won't discourage anybody from buying the 2009 to 2013 Toyota Corolla with that 1.8 liter engine with that noise. The reason why I'm saying that almost every, I won't say all, but almost every car with this VVT system, they all do make that sound. Yeah, that noise. They do that. Not necessarily that they do it from new, but what tends to happen is over time. I up to now I still don't know what causes it. Or there are some you'll find. I mean, in Peugeot cars like ES9A V6 engine, they are very notorious for that. It's hard to see one that doesn't make that sound. Like I said, because we didn't use them new here in Nigeria, at least majority of us that are currently using the car, we didn't buy these vehicles with them new. So I wouldn't know at one point the noise started when the new users, people that bought the new, started using the vehicle or doing their own ownership of the vehicle. Because I even know, even when you buy used ones, what we regard as tokumbo engines here in Nigeria, foreign imported used engines, we mount them. The same issue, no matter how low the mileage is. So it just you call it, it's just a weakness of that system. So the symptom only comes up, like he said, when engine is cold. Like you drive a car, park it, warms it up, drive a little bit distance, park it, maybe leave it for maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours. Then start the engine, it's going to make that sound. That first few seconds, maybe less than, it's not like 2, is it like one or two? I don't think it will sound up to 2 seconds, just 1 second, it goes up. So it's just 1 second sound, then it goes away. So you can switch off the car, start it again, it won't happen again. You park the car, leave for like 10 minutes, it won't happen again. Until probably you park the car, leave it overnight, by the next morning it will do that. You drive to work, park the car in the morning, let's leave it at maybe 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m. at most. By 5 p.m., you are done with work, enter your car, crank the engine, it's going to do that. However, I will say this. Now let's our Peugeot engine ES9A, I have two currently. So the one of them, all I did was it has to oil recommended for it, 5W40, 10W40. So I was using 5W40 when I got the car. Like I said, the noise, of course, the noise was there. So I was at a point I was like, maybe switch, just try 10W40 on that engine. So the first time I switched to 10W40, I now observed that it was taking less time for that noise to now come up. Before then, if I switch off the car, it would take it a minimum of 5 hours. Sometimes, like I said, 5, 6, 7 hours before that noise will happen. Before it has you crank, you leave it after like 7 hours, you crank it, or 5 hours, it will happen. But when I switch to 10W40, I notice, man, less than 1 hour. Guys, I'm not joking. Less than 1 hour. You could even say like 30 minutes. If I switch off the car, enter the car, crank engine. The noise will just again boom. When the engine is still hot, or at least warm. Unlike when it was with the 5W40. So what I now did was I said, okay, fine. It wasn't something I was paying attention first when I switched to 10W40. So it was that I started to, this thing appears to be happening at lesser time now, unlike before. So I switched back to 5W40 when the oil was due, and went back almost. It started to take longer time now before it comes up. So I just want to put that out. So yeah, for budget ones, I'll tell you the VVT, the sprocket, call it VVT gears, call it VVT sprocket. They are basically the cost. So though someone was claiming he has to do is it the valve worker or something? The one guy said it wasn't the same, it wasn't the camshaft VTC camshaft, that variable timing camshaft sprocket. That was the cause his own ES9A. So I wouldn't know. He said it was something else, valve worker or something. Some people don't like it. Me, I don't care because it doesn't affect anything. It's just something that just happened just 1 second. It went after like 10 hours or close to of the engine staying off. So it doesn't affect your fuel consumption. It doesn't affect your car engine power. It doesn't affect performance. Nothing. So I'm not bothered. So my point is, if that's the only thing it does on this 2009 to 2013 Toyota Corolla on this 1.8 liter engine, I don't think I should be bothered if that sound comes up while inspecting a car. So I won't discourage anybody from buying that, unless maybe for Toyota Corolla, this particular engine, I forgot to take note of the engine model. Unless maybe once it starts to do, it will also have some other symptoms that will affect the engine one way or the other. In that case, okay, makes sense. But if it's just like Pojo, don't worry. You can change it like you said, but why bother?
There are a few common oil leaks on this engine. Again, usually the early ones, but we're starting to see more of the newer ones. The front timing cover is notorious to leak on these, but another source of leak is the oil pressure switch, which is also right next to the timing cover, and it could mask itself as a front timing cover. Very simple to check it. Just pull the engine cover, look through the back. It should be dry. If you see a lot of oil, especially by the oil filter area, look up and you will see that the front timing cover is leaking. It is a somewhat of an involved job. It's a high labor job, of course. The repair manual wants you to pull the engine out of the car to do this, but you can actually do this in the car. So if you find a trusted mechanic, you can negotiate a good price to do it. Still a big job. If you have a 2009, 2010, it wouldn't be a bad idea to replace the intake VVTi gear while you're doing the front cover, and just as a precaution in case you have the issue with the variable valve timing gear. Another common leak is coolant leaks from the water pump. Now let's clarify that. This engine had two possible water pumps. One of them was only available in 2009, and then it was updated for 2010. Very early 2010 models still had the old school water pump design. And the way you know this is, look at the pulley, the middle of the water pump pulley. If it looks closed up, that is the new style. These are much better and a lot more reliable. They could still leak, but not as much as the old design. The old design had an open pulley. The water pump was much thinner. It just looked flimsy and horrible. And those were notorious to start leaking, and then eventually they start making noise and they completely lock up and throw the belt off. So as a precaution, if you have a 2009, 2010 and you have the old style water pump, I would just replace it to the new style. But there's one important thing. The new style pump is thicker than the old style. So when you replace that pump from the old style to the new style, there are 3 bolts that you have to replace for slightly longer bolts. When you take this water pump, there's about 5 bolts that hold it. 2 of them are very long and 3 of them are short. These shorter ones, you need to replace them if you're going from an old style water pump to the new one. Just wanted to clarify this. And something that is very common on this engine, it initially was 2009, 2010, but now we're starting to see it in the newer models too. Ignition coils. They love to go out on this engine. Very classic. Sometimes you'll get a misfire, sometimes you can only get a code. And the code is P035 star. So the star is cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4. Very simple. If you see that code, you need an ignition coil. The only thing you need to look at is check the wiring going to the coil for rodent damage, for anything, but most of the time it's just the coil, and they can be intermittent. You're not going to get a complete misfire, you'll just get the code. Then the alternators. The alternators were notorious on this model to go out, especially the early ones. And the reason for that is this is one of the first generation.
So let me comment on the ignition coil. So those tamp design. Let me just look at it again. All this call it. It's not necessarily independent. Okay, we could say this is independent ignition coils for each cylinders. This type designs. Yeah, not all, but yeah, they do tend to misbehave. Not just maybe this Toyota engine. Almost every Peugeot engine I've come across with this type of coil, they tend to do. Not all. For example, the one on ES9A, yeah, the one that the engine was produced with had the same issue like this one, but Peugeot now later revised, in other words, change, and started using improved one. So which is like the Delphi, packaged by Buggy Court or something. There's Delphi ignition coil. So those ones, they hardly fail. Doesn't mean they can't fail, but they hardly fail. So you can use them for years. In fact, to be honest, up to now, I'm yet to replace any of my engine with that brand of coil, Delphi. So none have failed, has failed. So but to me, I think it's still better than those dependent ignition coil known as coil pack. Those ones that are attached to each other. So if one cylinder, one coil started acting up, you have to change the entire coil assembly, because they are not detachable. So so I prefer this type. At least you deal with one if you has to. For me, it's just that most technicians will tell you replace the four at the same time, because once one start to give problem, before you know it, the next one might, So yeah, if you are looking at cost, probably you might do that. But if your ECU is able to dictate the particular one that is doing that, causing the misfire, probably may just replace only that one rather than buying the entire four. But the reason is just because of the cost. But there was something you said there. It was like pointing at that particular code. If that comes up, just replace the four of them. So in that case, because for Peugeot, it will tell you P0300. P0300 means misfire on undetermined cylinder. So it means basically the four cylinders kind of, the ECU couldn't tell which of the cylinder that is causing it misfire. So it's possible the four of them are weak, or one of them is just acting up, but not pronounced enough for the ECE to tell this is the problem, or this is the one that is causing it. So in that case, you can also change it for all your coils. But I'm just saying, if you want to save costs, you can identify the exact one. There are ways you can do that. Good way, and let me not get too into that, so I can listen to other things pointed out.
If you see that code, you need an ignition coil. The only thing you need to look at is check the wiring going to the coil for rodent damage, for anything, but most of the time it's just the coil, and they can be intermittent. You're not going to get a complete misfire, you'll just get the code. Then the alternators. The alternators were notorious on this model to go out, especially the early ones. And the reason for that is this is one of the first generation Corollas that had the updated, the new style alternator with a clutch. They had some issues with them initially. They can go out. Initially, they were extremely expensive, but prices has come down. And the typical thing for these is they'll start whining, or they'll flat out just stop working and you'll have a battery light on. These are the two things. And the other thing is, while we're talking about water pump, alternator, the belt, the drive belt, these had no automatic tensioner.
Alternators shouldn't be how do I put it? Shouldn't be a part that should be considered as one of those fast wearable parts on vehicles. Honestly, I know they do fail. I'm not saying Peugeot cars you don't get but I mean, alternator to fail on a Peugeot car, come on, we are looking at stars more than, I mean, if you hit close to 200,000 kilometers before you consider your alternator failing. Most size of Peugeot cars, alternator usually fail when maybe oil spill, water spill on the alternator, stuff like that. That will make it fail quicker. But on average, yeah, they fail as, for example, my 407 VC Coupe. The alternator failed. I know I replaced it around the mileage when it came was tampered. So, but it came with the service manual, and according to the service manual, the last record on the service manual was about 290,000 kilometers when it was used in Germany. Was it Germany? I don't know. I think it was Germany or Netherlands. That was the last record of service they did. So 200,000 kilometers. So in other words, it was replaced before I replaced it. So meaning it lasted over 200,000. Even though my mileage now is something different, but my point is at least it was able to serve that long. My 406 is over 200,000 kilometers, say the same alternator the car came with from you. My 607 own is still there. Now my 505 V6, which is 1986, okay, you could say those are old cars, so you can't use it compare. But I could still mention it. The alternator came, it was sometime 2015, I think, with the 20, you could say, between 2014, 15, around that time. The oil pressure switch started leaking. It's a long story. He was trying to adjust the belt, the alternator belt. So the mechanic that was trying to help me do that now damaged the oil pressure switch. We didn't even know. So it started spilling oil directly on top of the alternator. Eventually, it failed days later. So ever since then, I think I've tried like 2 alternators on the car. Put the first one, it wasn't charging well, especially with the AC. Try another one. Right now, it's like on third alternator now. All these ones I've tried, none of them failed, but I just kept looking for one because I couldn't find that exact match. So I just started looking for anyone I find that has the same design, but most times they will have lower capacity, so they won't be able to charge the vehicle, especially when you add load like AC. So my point is that's a big weakness on this vehicle or this engine for the alternator not to be able to last that long. Although he didn't state the way he was saying it as if he fails something, that's something you should expect. So meaning that lower mileage probably it will fail. So that shouldn't be. That's a big issue for me.
They were notorious for the belt to be squealing, to make noise, and people will put a new belt and it'll still squeal. The belt needs to be set at a proper tension. And if you put a belt and it makes that quick squeak when you first start the car, tighten the belt a little bit more. This is a manual tensioner where you can actually push the belt. But the one thing I will warn you, and this kind of comes with experience from doing these, if you over tighten the belt, it'll start humming. It'll start making a similar noise to when the alternator hums. So this kind of comes with experience. You can use a tool that checks the tension, but really tighten it. If it doesn't make noise, it's good.
I mean, for 2009 engine, and they are still using manual adjustment tensioner for the belt. That's that bad. I mean, you shouldn't. I know the manual one lasts longer, manual tensioners. But what I do know is if you don't have that tool to check if the tension, if the belt is well tensioned, then it could be a big problem. I know for project car like my 505 V6 is manual adjustment, the tensioner. So it doesn't even have a tensioner. It just sounds where you have to manually shift and then use your bolt to tight and hold the alternator or the AC they don't actually have tension on any part of it. It has like 3 5 bells around that place. So the point is, it makes sense to use those call it automatic tensioners. Only that it will cost you more eventually when it fails, but then you'll be able to tension your belt properly the way it's supposed to be. Easier for you to remove, easier to also put, depending on the models. So I mean, like I said, 2009. Why should Toyota still be doing this kind of? Anyway, it makes sense in terms of maintenance costs. You spend less changing your auxiliary belt tensioner, but then I mean, you might end up losing the belt because it might not tension well. It will fly off on the road. If it's a timing belt engine, it might cut your auxiliary belt and enter inside your timing chamber and ruin your valves. So
If it makes squealing noise when you first start the car, it's too loose. If it makes a humming noise when the car is running, it's too tight. So you gotta find your sweet spot there. Otherwise, mechanically, this engine is solid. And I know this might seem like a big list, but this is pretty much everything that you can possibly see with this engine. But another very important thing, this engine is prone. It doesn't have a problem, but it is prone to oil consumption when they're not maintained. Folks, oil changes on this engine every 5,000 miles are very important. The later models, they went 10,000 miles with a 0-20. You could still use 520 on this engine. You can even use 530 without issues oil-wise, but make sure you change it every 5,000 miles. This engine really gets ugly with oil consumption when you don't take care of it. They're very prone to that. Some engines, even if you neglect them, they're okay, but this one is very prone to oil consumption. So be careful with that maintenance there. And speaking of oil consumption,
I agree with him. I'm not a user, but I do hear most Corolla, Camry, they all complain of oil consumption. I mean, they do suffer that. I mean, in Nigeria, it's hard to even see someone who, even after having the knowledge of factory recommendation in terms of fluids on their vehicles, they just have to use thicker oil because the constant shortage of engine oil when you want to use the recommended one, which is thinner, like all those thin synthetic oil, they burn off faster. So that's one thing I know about this Toyota engines. I don't know the specific ones they usually, but I know most of these Toyota engines, yeah, they are better oil consumer. This model was 2009, the rest.
The other engine, the 2.4 liter in the special sport model, whatever, please avoid that engine altogether. If you have one, I'm sorry, you're going to have oil consumption. That engine had a birth defect. It had a problem with the pistons and rings. There was a campaign to fix them, but that campaign is likely expired by this time. It didn't really give the car a lot more power, honestly, and made the car too nose heavy, and it was not worth it. That whole model didn't make sense, and putting a bigger engine made it a lot harder to work on it. This engine is very easy to work on, the 2ZR, but the 2.4 2AZ, terrible for oil consumption, hard to work on, absolutely makes no sense in this car. I'm sorry if you own one, but they're not good. I wouldn't get the 2.4 in this generation Corolla.
Okay, what you are hearing the expert. I don't even know the power differences. Let's find out. Um, Hold on, guys. I want us to really what's it? Toyota Corolla 2010. So probably we'll check what's this called? Go to Wikipedia. 2.4 Toyota Corolla. 2.4. I want us to look at the difference, power difference. Um, Specification. This is a 2.4. Yeah, 2.4. So it said 158 horsepower. 168 horsepower. Okay. It's almost the same with like 307 with EW10 J4 engine. So let's look at 2 points. Let's look at 1.8. Let's see the power difference so that to know if it's really worth it to suffer what he's saying in terms of oil consumption. If the power difference is that much. So this is 1.8, 132 horsepower. So difference of 20 horsepower. 20 something though. But average, just average 20. So 20 horsepower on the natural aspirator can be huge. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it can really be huge. But then if the problem that comes with the engine is that much compared to the 1.8, then it might not really not, the difference might not be worth it. The only thing I know, I did a video. I reacted to one of his video how to solve the oil consumption issue with the 2.4 engine 2AZFE, where you have to change the piston and the rings to solve that problem. So maybe you could say, okay, maybe it's worth it if you could spend such amount of money to solve that problem and then you enjoy the car. So in that case, yeah, it makes sense. But I will keep saying the 20 horsepower difference, you could say maybe 25 or so. Yeah, it will make it faster, maybe. But at how much? And it being the 2.4 has up to 170 horsepower. Wow, I would say, yeah, man, I think it's the difference between 130 to 140, almost additional 40 horsepower. Yeah, that would be very, very noticeable. You know. Okay, so let's continue. Just understand that what I'm doing is trying to, you know, for someone like me that is into performance, yeah, these are the things I'll look at. If I want more power, uh, the headache that comes with that more power, is it worth it for me to go for it? If it's not really that worth it that much, the next one following that, the nearest power, what's the difference in terms of performance and other, and not just the engine power, other like does it have manual transmission? Does it have how is the brake? Even if the brake is not the performance type, let's assume the one with higher power has the performance brake components. But can I swap in that one on this one so that I'll be able to get the same performance brake, or brake efficiency for of that of the performance one on the one with a little bit lesser power? Those are things I'll look at and be like, okay, you know what? For example, I'll tell you what. Let's assume project did not produce 407 at all with manual transmission. 407 V6. They didn't do any project 407 V6 with manual transmission. It was all automatic. And then I'll now look at is it possible for me to convert this 407 V6 if I buy one to manual? And I do all my research and realize I cannot convert it to manual. It's not possible. As in, technically, there's nothing I can do about it. So I'll now look at, okay, what's the nearest power, which is EW12J4, and there's one that has about 163 horsepower. Remember the 407 VC is about 211 horsepower, 211. So yeah, there's almost how many? Like 40, a little bit more, close to 50 horsepower difference. So yeah, it's huge. Even the torque, the V6, the torque is about 290 Nm, while the 2.2, the EW12J4 is 220. So there's a big difference too on the torque. But then this one comes with 6-speed manual transmission. It has that option. Trust me, if I can't figure out how to convert that V6 to manual, I will gradually go for the 2.2. Yeah, I know it would be faster, it would be quicker, but I will go for that and I will be very contented with it. That's who I am. So for me, it's not always about it must be the one with the biggest power. Come on, look at the 508W2. The most powerful among them have not manual transmission, diesel engine. That one has 240 horsepower, if I'm not mistaken, 2.2 diesel. Guess what? No manual transmission. I don't think so, because they didn't do any manual transmission. And also, the fact that it's diesel is something that I'm finding hard to maintain in Nigeria. Because it doesn't mean I cannot be able to use the vehicle. It means I have to be ordering every single part of that engine from outside Nigeria. So all this will be a determining factor whether it will be easier for me to use that car. Yes, it has so much power compared to the petrol ones, 508 with 163 horsepower mass, or 165 if you want to look at it that way. So yeah, I might decide, you know what, let me go for the 165 because it has that manual transmission. While the other one, who is 240, number one, the petrol type is a discouraging factor. It has no manual transmission. So hey, you guys can have the power. I'm done. I'm okay. This was the point. The current 508 R8, I think the people facilitated it. The one with the maximum power, in fact, all the ones with petrol engine, they are all automatic, if I'm not mistaken. The 225 horsepower one, automatic, or 8-speed automatic, fine. You guys can have it. The only one with diesel is the only one with manual transmission is diesel. The one with the 1.5 liter, unless maybe there's another petrol they did that has a manual transmission, but it can't be. I'm not sure they did any of those 225 horsepower. I think there's one of hybrid that has more power as well. I don't even care about all those ones. As long as it has no manual transmission, you can have it. Not interested. So same thing. The only one diesel, and the diesel one 1.5 liter turbo engine. The power, not what is it, even up to 150 horsepower? Can't even remember. Maybe like 120 or 1. I mean, the most sluggish of among all these average 5.8. So in that case, yeah, no, the power is too poor for me to even consider that. I mean, come on, 1.5 liter do on that huge car. I don't know if you guys have seen it. That's a very big car. What can I, it doesn't matter the kind of power, turbo you put there. But it's possible to have big power, but my point is the power still doesn't make sense and still diesel, so I can't even use it here. So that's my point. I know this about Toyota, but I'm trying to tell you, there are things people like me will look at when it comes to, I will say, okay, the 2.4 Toyota Corolla 2009 to 2013, is it worth it? Knowing the problems the engine comes with. But then, if it's worth it, is this something I can live with the problems? If I can, fine. For me, let's assume the Toyota Corolla 2009 to 2013, the ones with 2.4 liter engine, they have manual transmission. And even the one with 132 horsepower also have manual transmission. So it means at least those two options are like viable for me. I think I will go for the 2.4. You know what? I didn't even check the torque for both engines, but of course I expect the 2.4 to have higher torque. The reason why is I've watched his video. This same guy watched his video, reacted to it, how you can fix the oil consumption issue on that engine by spending some money, maybe $1,000. No, I don't think according to him, let's say $500 to buy the piston kit with the rings, and I don't know, but I think he mentioned something like that. But let's just leave it at $1,000. Yeah, buy the car and save, work towards it, get the money, order the kit, change the pistons, the rings, everything, put it back, boom. What else? Any other issue or just the normal wear parts? I mean, I watched that video. He didn't say much about other issues the engine might come with. As for the biggest, because of the size, we will have more space to work on. Come on, V6 will have, we will have space. But I almost all my car V6. I'm not complaining. 407 is even worse when it comes to space. We work on in the engine bay. Like they did the 407, that before I work on that, you must remove it from the vehicle. Hey, we still find a way. 307 with 2.0 liter engine, same thing. No space, but still find a way to do the work. So I that's considered as lack of space as obstacle for me to get one. Stop me from getting a performance particular car, in a car model, the one that has the best performance package. I will go there as long as just putting it for you to understand. So make your choices depending on what you can live with or can, depending on issues. All right. So let's go into the transmission on this cars. Wait, he didn't talk about. Okay, well, he kind of talked about 2.4, but his focus mostly was on the 1.8. But he only mentioned 2.4 because of oil consumption. He said the speed. Okay, maybe at the end of this video, we'll look at 0 to 60. See, I'm not into all these 0 to 60 something, but it kind of tell you if the quickness between the 1.8 and the 2.4 Corolla is just like 1 second difference, then maybe it's not worth it, because it has to be way far from the other in terms of how quick, not just how fast, how quick the car is.
Now let's talk about the transmissions. And honestly, I don't have much to say about the transmission. I don't know anything about them because they are very good. Both the automatic and the manual, they're really good on this Corolla model. But there's one thing you need to be aware of, and this is again specific to the 09 year only. There was an issue with the parking pole, and it's not really an issue with the design. The parking pole was kind of not very strong. We're talking back in 2009, 2010. there was a slew of these that broke the parking pole, and the car comes in, drives in, but you put it in park, the car just rolls away. Because, and it was not caused by, you know, an issue with the transmission, people slam it into park. Don't do that with these because they are really prone to breaking their parking pole, and it's a disaster because you basically either have to replace the transmission or take it apart to replace a piece about this big. It just makes no sense. Don't slam it in park. Actually, you shouldn't do that to any car, but especially this generation Corolla because they are prone to that. And I told you that the transmission is very reliable, especially the automatic. But there's one thing that you really need to be aware of about these with maintenance. These say that they have a lifetime fluid.
Before he moves on, I don't think that people intentionally slam. I mean, what do you mean by slam to park? No, there's no need even to hit it that hard. So for me, it's better for him to just admit that, hey, the transmission has this weakness, so be wary of it. That's all I'm saying. Because yeah, there's no, I don't see anybody that, because the way they design, okay, I didn't see the layout how you can shift it from drive to park, whether it's a zigzag form or something. But usually you just move it. You see that automatic transmission, it will be very difficult for you to just push it first and hit from drive to park immediately. You know, so it still has to go to like boom, 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 boom before it gets there. So it's just a weakness. That's all I'm saying. But at least you can prevent experiencing that weakness by be more careful. Unlike other transmission, but in this case, you'll be more careful as you are shifting it, even if you have to do it slowly until you get to park. It's about this is the weakness, so this is how you can manage it without using it. Not necessary that people are intentionally hitting it. That's my own the way I see it as an expert too in automobile, not necessary to it.
Please don't fall for that. Replace that fluid every 60,000 miles or 60 years, and you really will not have transmission problems. That's just the way it is with these, with the lifetime fluid thing. These don't have a sealed transmission. They have a dipstick. It's super simple. Drain the fluid, fill the same amount, let it warm up, check the transmission fluid with the car idling, and life is good.
This, I don't know why car manufacturers, especially Peugeot, the last transmission they did, at least the one I remember, automatic transmission they did with dipstick was 4HP 20. Was it not 4HP 20? Yeah, 4HP 20 attached on ES9J4. You know, that first PR engine, ES9J4 V6 engine. So those ones, those automatic transmissions, they had dipstick. If I remember correctly, I hope I'm right. They have dipstick, so because I know 505 V6, which is ZM4HP 22. They also have dipstick. In fact, very easy to change the oil and put fresh oil. No, this thing doesn't have more stress. You put the new oil, new fluid through the dipstick. You know, gauge it, start the vehicle. You have to gauge your oil for 505 VC by when you start the vehicle. Pull it out, you see the normal gauge and the rest. Likewise, the engine needs to be running as you are pouring the oil. I've forgotten the details. But I don't know, for some reasons now, manufacturers don't put oil dipstick on the automatic transmission, which makes it harder for people to know when their gearbox oil is low on fluid, which may end up damaging their gearbox. But if there was a dipstick, just like engine, if there's a leakage that developed, you can catch it on time, fix it. I mean, this newer cars, I don't know what people really see in newer cars that make it. Anyway, because they are not technical, they really understand. They all focus on plastic things. So that's kudos to Toyota for even as 2009 to still put dipstick on automatic transmission. That's a big plus to me.
Let's talk about the chassis category, starting with the front struts. The thing with these Corollas is the front struts are pretty good, but then they get to a point where they just, from day to night, they just start leaking, and now you have noise over bumps, the car kind of jumps up and down. So keep an eye on these front struts. I really haven't seen some leak and then gradually get bad. I just see the car, it's perfectly dry, and then the next time we see it, next oil change, the thing is just completely blown. I don't know what's the deal with the struts. The rears, I don't remember ever replacing a rear strut on a Corolla like this generation, but the fronts, a lot. And every time you replace that strut, because it tends to just blow out like that, you have to replace the mount because the mount gets hammered and gets destroyed, and you won't find that out until you replace the strut, and then you have a noise over bumps from the mount. So always replace them together when you do. One thing on the brakes. So
Modern cars these days, their suspensions are not that great. Yeah, Toyota is like among the worst. I mean, here in Nigeria, I mean, uh, for example, one of their good, one of the strengths of Pojo cars is suspensions. Um, just that some like 407 very complex, but still doesn't mean it's weak, it's soft. Yeah, it's strong, but just that when it comes to repairs, man, you will find it fun. So, but the point is, I know Toyota, they are Corolla, Camry. I mean, users here in Nigeria, they spend a lot. They spend a lot changing their shock absorbers every now and then, especially shock absorbers almost all the time. You know, buy new one once, buy used one once, so they don't even know but I'm not saying the new one too are also better. But like I said, is if the old ones the car will come with you, most likely will last much longer before the need for you to start replacing. But then, depending on how you drive your car, if you drive it gently on rough road, you will suffer suspension issue less compared to people that speed on rough roads. So that can determine how the maintenance cost of your Corolla suspension, especially here in Nigeria, where most of our roads are not in good shape. Yeah.
very common concern.
Oh, I think there's something I said I need to correct. I think I said the 2.4-liter engine has almost similar power with 2.0-liter engine in 307. That's EW10J4. No. EW10J4 is about 138 horsepower. So if I were to say, I would say the Colis 2009 Corolla. Okay, no, I shouldn't be comparing it to 307 because 307 stopped in 2008. So they are not the same. It should be compared to 308, but then 308 are basically turbo engines, then one or two naturally aspirated, so they are completely different. You can't even compare both. Yeah, both of them. So the one 2.4, but if I were just to make just a comparison, yeah, the 2.4-liter engine in Corolla has more power than 307 with 2.0-liter EW10J4 and EW10A. Yeah, it has more power than those two engines, EW10A. So unless you are talking about the EW10J4S, that's the sports version, then we are talking about 180 horsepower. So basically, she has also almost similar power with the EW10J4 with the 1.8. Just that the EW10J4 has just a little bit more power, likewise EW10A. Okay.
With these, and this was for some reason more common in the later part of the life of this generation Corolla than the early ones. The concern is you press the brake, it almost like the brake grabs, then the pedal sinks a little bit, then it grabs again. That very specific. So if you go drive one and you feel it, you just press the brakes, they grab, and then it just like almost you feel like the pedal drops and then it grabs again. People have replaced ABS actuators, did all kinds of things. All it is a rear drum brake adjustment. For some reason, the drum brakes don't auto adjust on these. Even if no matter how long you drive in reverse, they just don't auto adjust, especially in like 2011 and up to 13. If you have that, just go in the back, turn the star wheel, adjust the parking brakes until you got a very slight drag on the wheels, and life is good. This is so common in these that I would actually tell you, if you want your front brakes to last a very long time, because by the way, the front brakes on these don't last very long because of this. But if you go every 10, 15, 20,000 miles, whichever is convenient for you, especially if you're doing it yourself, adjust the rear brakes, you're going to get much better braking. You won't have that sinky pedal, and the front brakes will start lasting a lot longer. And another thing.
Okay, well, that's a very good point you pointed out because personally, if I probably wouldn't have known if I've not had this. See, I've not watched this video before. This is my first time watching these videos and I'm reacting to it right now. So, it's a good thing he pointed it out because most users may not even know until now that they are hearing it for the first time. Because if I've gone now to inspect this vehicle, drive it and notice that my first thought probably would be, maybe the master cylinder is weak, maybe the ABS block, something. The rear drum will not cross my mind. But then, if I was even point out, why would Toyota in 2009 still be using drum brakes on a car? That's one thing about Toyota. Just yeah, you could say it's a low quality vehicle. Yeah, you could say, see, don't say, but their parts hardly fail. It's a low quality car. These Corollas are low quality. I mean, why would it be? Because look at 307, 2002 to 2008. Because Toyota is like an equivalent of Corolla. So, I mean, they all have basically the, what's it called? Rear disc. That's what they have. If there's anyone with drum brakes, I'm yet to come across one. So by standard, they all have disc. So I'm surprised. Maybe there could be one with drum, but I don't know. But I'm just a standard. If by now, I don't know how many hundreds of 207 I must have worked on or driven or come across or something, and none of them have drum brake, then, I mean, but like I said, anything is possible. Maybe the station wagon might have, who knows? I've yet to come across one. 206, yeah, I could say that, a much smaller car. 307, no. So, they shouldn't be using that kind of thing on 2009 to 2013. Come on. But then, people, I mean, trust me, you see this drum brake is enough to stop me from buying that vehicle. I don't care how much power you have. If your cars do not have disc all round on the wheels, brake disc, I will not buy that car. Unless I have intention at some point that I'm going to convert it to disc and that I can be able to do that. Yeah, in that case, yes, I'll go ahead and buy it. Then work towards converting it to disc. I did that on someone's 505 back then. So yeah, for example, if I see a 505 today with rear drum, I'll buy it because I know I can convert it to disc. The parts are available. The 505 that were produced with rear brake disc are numerous. So that's my point. So I can easily get the parts and do the conversion. But this one, maybe there are some that had this, so it's possible that some had rear brake disc. So in that case, yeah, I might consider that. But if it's standard, we are brake drum, walk away. If there are some that actually disc, I will look for those ones with disc. Hopefully, they will be the one with those big powers. That's our performance.
Thing that was very common with the chassis of this car is the CV boots or the axles in the front, especially the outer ones. They love to leak. They just get dry rotten over time, the rubber, and then they split. And now you have grease all over. You want to periodically check these because if you catch it when it just starts, you can actually replace the boots, preserve that axle, and you don't have to replace the whole axle. But if you don't keep an eye on it and your mechanic is careless and doesn't check them, They will leak all the grease and destroy the axle. Now when you make sharp turns, you get that clicking noise, and now the axle is done. You could have saved it, but now it's done. You got to replace the whole thing. So keep an eye on these CV boots, specifically the outer ones, both sides. They're very notorious. This all kind of covers the whole year range. Early ones, especially because they are the oldest ones. And another one that
Well, those of us here in Nigeria, the thing is, uh, over there, yeah, you buy the complete, but here we change only the CV joints. We don't change the complete drive shaft. I'm talking about both the inner CV joint, the drive shaft with the outer CV joint. So so here, at least the outer CV joint, the available new ones. So my point is, yeah, it's something that even if it happens over here, not necessarily a big deal. Not saying the new ones you are putting will last, like the stock one that just got damaged. If well, it was prevented from damaging by checking the boots to be sure it doesn't leak. Or once you notice it started leaking, you replace it immediately to prevent grease from drying out from there and then cause it to damage. So that's the point. But even at that, it won't be. But I like that he's pointing it out so that I'll be able to prevent some of those things. That basically what I've also been preaching for years: preventive maintenance. All right.
that is common, and this is more of a rust belt special. The rear wheel bearings, and specifically the speed sensor and the wire. See, what happens with those is, with all the salt that places like where I live in Chicago, we use this to destroy our cars in the winter. That salt makes its way inside the connector and corrodes the pins that go on the speed sensor and then on the wire. Unfortunately, by the time you clean them, the pins usually break. There's no replacing them. Because this is a rusty car, you can replace just the sensor, but because it's a rusty car, it never comes out and you end up destroying the bearing. So you usually, when you get a rear wheel speed sensor code, you need the wire and the whole bearing. And the bearings are so expensive on these, they're ridiculous. So perhaps it is a good idea to put some dielectric grease on these periodically if you're worried about it. This really affected the early ones more than the newer ones, but the newer ones are also newer. So give it time and it'll get there too.
Yeah. So yeah, what you said makes sense. It's not just on Toyota. In terms of there are those sensors. 308 tends to suffer that too. When the sensor, not necessarily the sensor, the bearing when it rusts, the rust there will affect all those things. Not necessarily the bearing, the surface that the sensor monitors around that bearing. So, but the thing is, for project cars, they are not that expensive, used ones. But what you are looking at about Toyota Corolla, man, this is not the first time I'm hearing that their bearing cost. Yeah, I've heard about it. They cost, even used ones, they cost. Wow. So, yeah, I know that for sure. So, yeah, well, want to own a Corolla, that's one of the prices you need to be willing to pay to own one. All right.
Let's talk about the body category, and starting with the air conditioning system. I cannot tell you how many people in 2009, 2010 came to the dealership with either the AC control knobs pushed into the dash or it's in their hand. They are very flimsy and they are very cheaply made, and that's unfortunately the way it is. Be gentle with them. Don't force them. Don't operate them with force. They're very fragile, unfortunately. That is one thing that most people will not violently control them, but some people did.
Just to chip in, remember, this is first time watching the video, and like I said, Toyota Corollas are cheaply made. Not even sure I've ever owned one or ever been interested. I don't like low quality produced vehicles. Anyway, moving on.
Especially if you push them hard, they'll just sink into the dash, and that's that. And they can get a little bit expensive, depends which one breaks. But that is something you want to be aware of. The other one is specifically the knob for the fan speed. It was notorious to short out, and then you either have one speed or you have no speeds at all, or it'll be on one speed all the time, regardless. You put it on off, it's still running. That was something with the switch, very common. We've seen it a lot, and it also happens from mishandling the switch. But usually, it's a Toyota, it'll take some beating, but this one is a little fragile. Speaking of the AC, I've never seen more Toyota model that is prone to the AC drain clogging than this generation. Countless of them that I've seen that are flooded, completely flooded, total, destroyed, gone, simply because of a tiny little hose that needs cleaning. So if you own one of these, periodically clean the drain to prevent this massive totaling of the car because of a massive flood. They're very prone to this. Keep your cowl clean. I will leave a video in the link in the description of this video for practices that you should practice to prevent your car from getting flooded by the drain, by the sunroof drain if you have one, and by the cowl. Another thing in the last...
See, it didn't touch on the main issue self with this car. Their ACs are useless. Yeah, I'm telling you, as someone, not someone who have used it, or someone who has worked on Corollas, no, especially this model, but someone who know people that use this car and how much fortune they spend trying to fix this AC over and over and over and over. To the point that it got a point, they stopped using Corolla compressors, other components. In fact, one of the reasons why Pojo AC compressor used ones are expensive now is because of Corolla and probably Camry. Is one of the reasons why our compressors used to be the cheapest in the market, 8,000, 9,000. All of a sudden, boom, because they now realize they can actually use a Pojo compressor to at least have some breathing air. So the demand for Pojo compressors now shoot up because of Corolla users, even Benz users. They started using Pojo compressor, and suddenly our own started to cost as well. But still not as high as theirs. So their compressors are used as one of the worst from what I have from users. I mean, I'm talking about they just keep spending. Some of the point that some will even say, I wouldn't mind using this guy again with that compressor. Even beyond this 2009 and 2013, the rest, other ones, even newer ones, same one issue to the other. So I'm not saying Pojo car don't have cars with AC issues as well, but I'm saying since I'm reacting to this one is like wow. So it's not just the flimsy, fragile control, the control knob, the blower knob, all those things. I'm talking about even the main component of the AC system on this car just crap. So as much as he didn't want to mention it, I want to point it out. So that could be one of the reasons you might avoid to own this car unless you don't mind,
thing on the AC system is a compressor. Now, this is a clutchless compressor. It's, for the most part, is good, but every once in a while, the compressor is dead. Unfortunately, these compressors can get expensive. So when you go buy one, don't buy one with the AC doesn't work. Even if you're in the middle of winter, test that AC. You do not want to buy that one that has a bad compressor and now you're stuck with a giant bill because there's no AC.
Yeah, it makes sense. Don't buy one without the compressor working. But here is the thing. Since the compressor is not even durable, it doesn't matter, especially the OEM. So if you insist it must be the one that the AC compressor works. So meaning that it's just a matter of it's just a matter of time. That same one, you are probably adding more money to buy because the compressor works. Will be almost the same one you try to avoid. Maybe that is even in a better condition than the one that the AC works. You now end up buying one that will fail a week later, and then so that's my point. It's a major weakness on this car. So if I'm checking this car to buy, the point is AC will be the less in my. I will buy that. It won't be a priority to get one that the AC works. Good thing if it works. But every other thing must check out first before I even consider it. It's a plus, that's what I'm saying. But like I say, considering that is notorious for failing the compressor. So I didn't, like I said, I've not watched this video before. This as I'm watching it for the first time, I'm reacting immediately to that. So I didn't know it was going to bring out a compressor issue. So yeah, I'll just, if I'm buying this car, or if I'm advising anybody to buy this 2009 to 2013 Corolla, just know that you'll be having this issue. As long as you want to be using AC, just be keeping some money to be having AC compressor issue over and over, almost every now. There could be some people who have owned this car for a while and no AC issue. Anything is possible. But like I said, it doesn't remove the fact that this is a major weakness on this car. So maybe out of 10 people, 2 people or 2 users will not experience that problem, but the rest of the 8 have experienced it maybe more than once. So that's the point. So some people, like I said, in Nigeria, they've started converting their own. In fact, this one I will even tell you. If you are buying Nigeria use Corolla 2009 to 2013, if the AC is working, you should even be more concerned. Yeah, let me tell you that. You should be more concerned that it's working. You know why? Because some of those ones they do buy, like the Pojo one they buy and convert, what they usually do, they do it what they call manual. It's not that the type manual one they do in Pojo, they do this on so they will bypass the connection completely from factory trigger. The compressor trigger will now be bypassed most of the time. So the point that when you now power the AC, the engine ECU will even know that the AC is on, so it will draw the engine power to increase the fuel consumption, and then the power, you will suddenly realize the car will be struggling to move because the control, AC control has nothing to do with ECU, unlike the factory connection to the compressor where it's meant to work with engine ECU so that the ECU will be able to manage the load and still maintain good power and better fuel economy as well with the AC running. So that's what I'm saying. If you buy one with the AC working, it's possible that, especially the one that's even used one, you'll be surprised. Some Tokumbo ones, maybe the AC was not working, but for the dealer to make more money from the sale, you might go and do that manual conversion. So you should also be well. Unfortunately, you have to have technical eye to be able to see if you can see the compressor from the engine bay, see if be able to identify whether it's the factory one. So these are things you need to check. Go and find out what it looks like. I don't know whether the position of compressor on this 2009 Corollas to 2030 on these 2 engines, the 1.8 and 2.4. So you need to know where the collocations of the position of the compressor on the engine. Is it something you can see from the engine bay? If you can see them from the engine bay, do you know what they look like? So that if you are buying this car and you are checking, as you open the bonnet, if the AC is working, check. If the compressor there is different from the factory one, it means most likely they've done that conversion. So meaning that you expect that you might be experiencing that issue on the car in terms of power drawn, higher fuel consumption if you must use AC. Yeah, it will drain the engine power, drop it down. So in that case, after buying the car, the option you have is most likely to spend, if not more, amount of money to change, reverse the AC system back to factory. Unlike the other one that AC is not working, maybe because of that compressor. So the only thing you now deal with most likely the compressor. But this one you might have to get an electrician involved to start to do this, do that, change the connection, reverse everything they did. So sometimes they say, hey, you must also change the condenser if you are changing the compressor of this. I don't know, I'm not an expert on Corolla, but I'm just saying, personally, if the AC is not working fine, as long as they've not tapped out the system, fine. I know it's most likely might be the compressor. Yeah, I'll deal with it when I can. If they be tampered it, no, because you don't know what you are getting into. You don't know how far they went with the conversion. So you might have to do with a lot of things. So that's why I'm saying it should, even if you should be wary, you should be concerned if you're buying a used 2030 Corolla in Nigeria and the AC is working. No, don't be so happy. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. You could be lucky and it might be that no bypass or conversion was done. Anything is possible.
Let's talk about electrical problems. And there's actually a grand total of one electrical problem, but it is so serious in the symptom category and so simple to fix, you gotta know about it, especially if you own one. So you're turning your steering wheel, let's say you're turning it fast, and all of a sudden it starts getting hard and locking up, and the lights dim, and you hit the brakes, the radio shuts off, and there's all kinds of electrical gremlins going on, especially when you have heavy load. The fan is on, the battery lights start flickering sometimes, and it is all caused by one single ground that goes straight from the battery all the way down to the body, and that bolt is notorious to corrode, and then you have poor contact. You basically are losing ground to everything in the car. If you have that issue, you're going to notice that the bolt will strip coming out. You need to make the hole bigger, put a bigger bolt, and dielectric grease, and that solves all the problem. I've seen mechanics replace alternators because of this, steering motors, all kinds of stuff, and miss this very simple thing that causes so much symptoms. So you really need to be aware of it, and if you see it rusty and corroding, take it out and clean it. Be kind of proactive about this.
Um, Yeah, well, okay, that's a good one you pointed out. But I would say it's only limited to Corolla. I mean, come on, I just dealt with one in my 607. I showed you guys, did a video on that. Where it affected the power, the fan, the engine cooling fan, engine radiator cooling fan, which stopped working. I thought it was the fan, removed the fan, tested it, it was still okay. Eventually, I now traced it to that place. So it was the same, but in this case, it wasn't the only ground line or negative supply line from the battery. This one was about three or four, I think about three or four negative lines we are bolted somewhere on the chassis, and so funny enough, I was wondering how come the car started and moved. If because it's only one of the four wires was for the fan delay. So how come the other components I don't even know. So but what I did in my case, as I was trying to I actually remove the bolt, cleaned off the surface. As I was tightening it back, I think I didn't even touch it that much. All of a sudden, bim, broke. So I had to now find another uh, place on the chassis and use it to tighten the those negative line wires on the chassis. So that became another source of the negative supply to those components. But I think that I might still have negative ground issues on the car to deal with. I'm seeing sign too. There's an issue with the negative line, negative supply somewhere to one of the electrical components. All I need is now to make out time to now start tracing all the negative. So it's not peculiar issue. That's my point with Corona. It can happen to any car. Especially depending on the location of those negative lines. If they are very close to water ingress or you know that happen. So but I think it's a good thing that he pointed it out because it could make people drain you, technicians to drain you. Even if they know that's the issue, they will just intentionally be beating about the bush, you know. So that they will be able to they make you think that this thing causes so much. Also maybe out of ignorance, they you change, change this, change this, change that, change that, change that. They're not knowing that the problem could be from there. So it's a good thing he pointed it out. So let's listen to his final solution or advice.
And what is the best year to buy in this generation? Well, that's very simple. 2010 to 2013 if you want to play it safe. If you really want to play it safe, 2011 to 2013. Folks, let me tell you my personal opinion on this generation Corolla. It is not my favorite Corolla in the world. And look, they're good cars. I'm not out there to bash them. But they just did not live up to the generation behind it. It had too many problems when they launched, which you've seen them throughout this video. They got much better later, but it already lost its momentum. And the other thing is, in this segment that it was competing with, the Civic, other models at the time, they were too plasticky feeling, and the way they drove, especially compared to the previous Corolla, we're not talking about other models, it felt too light, too unstable. The steering wheel was really vague compared to the previous generation. It was not the hottest Corolla, and that's why they cut the production early and they moved to the next generation before the full 6 years of production. And the last Corolla that did that was a truly horrible Corolla, the 1998 to 2002. Otherwise, Corollas typically go on a 6-year production. This one went on a 5. However, this is significantly better than the 98 to 2002, which were flat horrible. That's just my opinion, professional opinion. These are good cars, but because they have these issues, some owners will just completely neglect them, and you'll have one that is leaking oil everywhere, AC doesn't work, water pump's leaking, alternators on its last leg, the belt squeals, the CV boot's leaking, the front struts, all this stuff piled up, and then you end up buying it and it becomes the worst car you ever bought. But if you, now that you know this stuff from this video, and you go and do your due diligence and inspection, you're going to know exactly what to look for, and you're going to end up buying one that could actually last 200,000-300,000 miles with good maintenance. You know the common problems, you're going to take care of them, and life is great. If you don't mind the slightly plasticky feeling interior, and it's very creaky, it makes noise, it's a loud car, it's not really the most quiet, but the seats are very comfortable, and it's overall reliable with good maintenance, then you're going to actually like this generation. Otherwise, if you want to get into the CVT world, which they are reliable in the following generation, but some people are still nervous about them, go for the next generation. If you want something that felt solid, the previous generation is really good, but they're also starting to get really old, and of course with age, cars do have problems, even the best ones. I hope this video is helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like,
Yeah, so this is my final say as well on this car. I'm not an expert Toyota, so don't really take my advice as an authority. So I would say, as he pointed out some things, very plastic, this and that. I don't like the car because it looks, for me, I consider it one of the ugliest Corolla produced, especially 2010. I don't know, 2009, 2010, I think they are almost the same look. I can't tell. 11, 12, 13, I think maybe they look a little bit different from the pair on the front. I think hey, I'm not an expert, so don't quote me. But I would say, especially I know the 2010, maybe 2009, 2010, they are very ugly. So, so my point is, when it comes to cars, I don't know, sometimes I try to use myself as an example, which is not the best, because when somebody who is into performance is giving his own perspective or his own choice, it won't be helpful to people who just want, hey, I want mobility, so that's my point. But it's just that for me, I mean, I need to be able to find a car I want to use attractive, appealing to look at, to feel proud that I own the vehicle, both exterior and interior. The interior of this car is horrible looking. Exterior, 2010, horrible looking. So whatever I'm going to gain from that, okay, it's not as if the car is even so powerful from performance wise, right? For economy, okay, I don't know, we've not checked. Maybe we'll check after this, or probably no need for that. economy, is it the only one that consume the least? Maybe the Toyota line, maybe at that time, but the competitors can also say, but Corolla doesn't consume fuel. What about Civic? Does Toyota consume less than Honda Civic of the same production, same years, 2009 to 2010, 2013? So if your case is because you want car that consume less fuel, I don't know. It's possible that this one consume, but I'm just saying, look at every option to know if it's really what's going to this car that doesn't look appealing. Is it just because of the badge? Maybe. For me, yeah, I'm a badge. I'm also badge lawyer in terms of Pojo. Yeah, fine, but I can skip a particular. I can skip it. That's my point. I can skip a particular model and go over it if it doesn't have looks appealing to me or have a performance package I want. So you have to know. That's how I see this car. But it pointed out some good things. If you really want the car or already have it, these are the things you can do to be able to enjoy the ownership, spend less and the rest. So what I like doing is also what he did on this video. I'll tell you, don't own this car. Avoid it. However, the reason why I'm telling you to avoid is because of this issue, this issue, this issue. And there's ways you can avoid experiencing these issues, at least less. You have experienced them less than other people that extend them constantly or prevent them from even happening in the first place. So I point out those things so that you can still go ahead and buy and enjoy if it's your dream car, if it's exactly what you want. However, if you can avoid it completely, this is the reasons why you should. That's what I do. So I'm not like, hey, no, this is bad. There's no positive about the car. Every car has positive and negative. Doesn't matter. There are some project cars I bring them up here, man, hours. You're still talking of their issues. So, but then I'll still tell you, I'll still choose this car because of this and this and this because I can be able to prevent these issues I mentioned or be able to manage them or even be able to live with those issues because of this other positive that comes with the car. In other words, they overshadow those negatives. So, like I put earlier, you can go and this is the channel Car Care Not. Can visit this channel, subscribe, and watch other videos. This is the title. Should you buy a Toyota Corolla 2009 to 2013? Yeah, common problem. So we will publish it in 1st December 2021. Okay, let's see something 2010 2.4 specs. I want to see if you can find 0 to 90. Okay, same this thing. Uh-oh. Guys, hold on, it's coming. Okay, so trying to find it didn't state 0 to the speed here. Okay, let's look for it elsewhere. Let's try something. Okay, it says 7.8 seconds. So 0 to 100 kilometers per hour. 7.8 seconds. Okay. It's not slow. The 2.4 liter. The one with two AZ, two A for FE. Does it have manual transmission? Um, let- let's let's see. Uh, I'm not sure it has manual transmission. This this specs didn't show us. I know we are done with this, but for if you want to continue watching, I just want us to look at the performance side of the car. Um, Here is transmission, 5-speed automatic. Okay, manual transmission. You know what? Let's go to Wikipedia. We find it there. I know the Wikipedia is not a good site to reference, but basic things like this um, can serve any generation. Okay. I think it should be this. Hmm. So there's 5-speed manual, 6-speed manual. Let's find out. Of course, in America, probably they didn't sell with manual transmission. Wow. Let's see. US. Pakistan, Malaysia, India, Hong Kong, um, trying to find America, Japan. Okay, let's go see if we can find America. Asia, not America. Okay. Okay. Wow, that makes sense. Look at it. 5-speed manual for the 2.4. So 158 horsepower, 220 Nm. So it has the same engine power with the 2.2 in 407. So uh, so it will actually be faster than 407. Yeah, it will because say 7.8 seconds. 407 with no, it shouldn't be in the okay. If you have to compare it with 307 with UW10J4S, yeah, no, that one will be faster. But then it has more torque than that 307 engine. The 307 has more power. So my point is the 2.4 is actually worth it on 307 for the North America version models. 5-speed automatic. I don't know. Okay. So even the 1.8 has the same manual transmission. Also has manual transmission. I meant. Um, 174 nm. So basically less than 200 new meter top. I don't think. Well, I know EW10 J4 has a 190 nm. So 307 will be faster. 307 with 2.0 liter will be faster than this. 307 doesn't have any 1.8, so you can't compare it to the 1.6 then. So this is the only one that can compete with 307, the 2.4. So the 2.4, I cannot tell why it makes more sense. So yeah, if I were to buy this 2009 to 2013 Corolla, this one I'll get the 2.4, since it has the option of manual and good power, 158 220 nm. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, if your own is boring to drive, maybe because it's automatic, so you have to consider that. It seems other regions have different engine sizes and the rest. So I think we've gotten. Let's see, Toyota Corolla 1.80 to 60. Wow, nice, slow. I see 10.2 seconds. So yeah, it's a slow car. Okay, wait. Let me put it 2010. Forgotten. So yeah, it's something 10.8, 10.1. So with automatic transmission. So with manual transmission, it's 9.1. So manual is faster. So let me even check the 2.4 manual. Okay, she's saying 7.8 seconds. I didn't differentiate. Yeah, maybe there could be a place where I differentiated the automatic from manual. So that's the SRS. Yeah, I will go for this. If you are into performance and you're looking for Corolla 2010 to 2013, yeah, go for the 2.4. It's worth it. But then, like I said, they say it consumes oil, so you need to change the pistons, piston and rings, buy the improved kit, improved piston. Look for it. Look for the part number. I showed it. Go to my one of the videos, the recent video I did on why you should avoid the 2.4 liter Toyota engine. So I mentioned the only way to solve that problem is to change it. He explained it himself anyway. So do I need to check the fuel consumption? Man, I really don't have time for all those things. Okay, maybe I could do that. I know I'm not into all those things, but I know some people might be interested. 1.8 versus 2.4 economy. Uh, 1.8 4-speed automatic highway 34 for the automatic 1.4 2.4 34 miles per gallon 2.4 manual 30. Okay, not bad. 2.4 automatic 30. So 2.4 automatic and manual are basically the same on highway. Yeah, I focus more on highway, not on in the city. City drive is dependent on a lot of factors, traffic, this and that. So, but highway is more constant. So, so the difference is just what between 1.8 and 1.5. So 1.8, the manual 35. So manual consume less for the 1.8. Automatic consumes a little bit more. Um, hmm? Yeah, automatic consumes. So I'm surprised that the automatic didn't consume more for the 2.4 liter engine. So 4 miles per gallon difference. So I think the 2.4 makes sense in that case. Just I don't know the difference in terms of liters. You are checking. We want to check it in liter. If you use 4 miles per gallon, UK. This is a US miles per gallon though. So yeah, I will still go for the 2.4, man. The performance will make more sense. And I expect the 2.4 to have rear disc, not rear drum. I don't know, but I'm just saying it's possible to have rear disc. Can we find out? Let's find out. Um, let's go back to the 2.4 spec. Okay. Dual rear brake disc. You see, front disc. So you can see the 2.4. It means you will not experience what is it car not guy or something that expert on Toyota was explaining. So in other words, the braking issue is dealt with. So you don't have any problem. Is But then let's look at 1.8. So you can see why I'm saying you need to look at all these factors before buying cars. So not everything is about fuel economy, you know. So let's see. I don't expect, because like I said, I wasn't expecting 2.4 to have that dual brake. No, drum brake. Why is internet taking longer? Um, yeah. That is after you've overlooked every other thing you pointed out, like what's it called? Um, um, the ugly look of the car, interior, all that. So that's when you start talking about this. Uh, oh, it's also saying disc brakes. So it means it's probably the drum brake is optional. So I said this one dual disc brakes for rear, front dual disc brake too. This for 1.8 as well. Maybe there could be ones that come with disc brakes at the rear. So it means you have to pay attention when you are inspecting to know that you are better off buying one with four-wheel disc brakes. Don't buy one with rear drum brakes to avoid what he explained, where you can lose the brake and can cause accident, where you might touch your brake, then start going down, brake pedal. So I will have to going to start to convert to brake disc and the rest. So okay, so that's basically it, and so till next video.